All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. It is week one of our condensed training of the social media Jim Lupkin's Never Run Out of People to Speak to for Business. So we do make this open-ended. This is a team environment. So please ask your questions. Stop me anytime something doesn't quite make sense, or if you want to revisit it, or any direction you want to go. All right. So in anything that you need, I want to make sure that everyone feels very comfortable with the whole program, and especially by the time we get to the end of it, that you really feel you received as much as you possibly could and that you can just run with it. So as I was explaining earlier to the team, everybody has access to the free Facebook group, Never Run Out of People to Speak to for Business. You're limited on the videos that are in there, but I believe you get a lot of great testimonials and things like that, but also conversation. And conversation is one of the most important things. If you want to go deeper, there are definitely ways of going deeper. You can purchase the program on a monthly basis or for the year, or if you join our social networking association, which I'm one of the members for on the board, then you can receive this entire program plus everything else that we offer, and that's $99 a year. But for now, we're going to go through some fun stuff. I do go fast. So if you guys have any questions, please do not feel nervous about interrupting and asking your questions. And let's see, can I make somebody a co-host so that you can help me let people in? Anyone willing? Great. Annie and Jazzy, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Okay. All right. You guys are in charge of that. Okay. Fantastic. All right. So the first C, there's 4 C's, and it goes community, conversation, connect, and communication. And we start off with community. I'm going to go through the community a little bit faster because we're already a part of a Facebook group. We've already been doing Facebook groups for a while, so I don't know if we necessarily need as much attention spent on this, but I want to cover just a couple things. However, if this is something that you have more questions about, just stop me, let me know. We can certainly cover the whole thing. But of course, community, Facebook community, let's address the elephant in the room really fast. So a lot of people are leaving Facebook. It's been all over the news. It's definitely been talked about quite a bit. I actually got together with Jim a couple days ago to speak about this more in detail and kind of get his thoughts. Because if you don't know Jim's background, Jim was in the process of building a Facebook platform while Facebook was being built. And he was just about ready to come out with something when Facebook came out. And then he realized that this was really going to take off. So he's got a lot of interest vested in Facebook. And of course, his training focuses on Facebook. But however, what he trains on and what we'll be covering can be used in every one of the social media platforms. So if Facebook is not your thing, no worries. You can take this information and go to any of the others, LinkedIn or Instagram. They won't have necessarily all of the stuff. Like a lot of the other platforms don't have groups. And so that's kind of the biggest issue for what we do. We like to have groups to bring people together and this part of the CN community. Now, what Jim did suggest to me, which was not a question for me, but he's like, do not delete your Facebook. It's like, I guarantee you, if you delete your account, you will lose your business. So do not delete. If you need to go inactive for a little bit for whatever reason, then fine. He and I bantered back and forth of I'm certainly not going inactive, and I'm certainly not going to delete, because it's, where are we at? Like, I don't know, 14 years of existence of having this platform, right? You don't just give that up. And but if anyone is considering not doing quite as much in Facebook, I would still maintain a presence. I would repurpose what you're doing in the other platforms. Keep your presence here, because please keep in mind, just like your network business, if you don't pay attention to it and you don't have a presence, you lose everything that you have built yourself up with, and you lose your customers, you lose your network, you lose that community, and you have to start all over again. And it's not easy. So if that is a concern or a question for anyone that you're considering changing platforms, please let's discuss it before making those absolute decisions. I myself am not. And the way I looked at it is, and Jim and I talked numbers, and we talked about the numbers of people on Facebook and the number of people leaving and all of that. And, you know, Parler in particular is very much like a Twitter. You're limited to how many words you can have. So it's not a, let me tell you what's going on with my family situation. It's a little bit more of a news situation. Instagram, you guys know what Instagram is more for, and LinkedIn, you know what that really works for. If anyone wants to talk about them in detail, let me know. Facebook, in my opinion, is the best platform for social influencers of, let's just go the majority of our age. For those that are between 15 and maybe 28 years of age, Instagram is going to be more of a platform. So you can kind of pick and choose accordingly. But Facebook has always been known as being much more of a what's going on in your life situation. And when we look at who's leaving Facebook, most of them are coming back. They just may not be there right now. But the plan was always to come back when things settled down and when attitude kind of settled down. And I'm already starting to see people come back, right? We had a couple leave before, now they're back again. And so it really is a community. Plus, when you're also in a certain age group, they don't want to change. They don't want to redo a platform that they understand. And so that's a large base of our customers are that particular age group. And let's just say prime time, right? The baby boomers and prime time and in that area. So if we leave, you're leaving all of those people who aren't going to go anywhere. They're going to stay on Facebook. So I just wanted to address that elephant in the room because it is a hot topic right now. All right, so for community, this is all going back to Facebook groups. And the reason why we do that is to bring people together who share a common interest and people from all over the world. And the purpose is to inspire new friends to do business with, to introduce them to friends that you're already doing business with, but to build an active community with others who have the same interests. Now, how do we do that? Let's talk posts. What posts can be the biggest, highest type of post to interest people? Now, this is something I did not understand or get right, but the post that encourages the most positive, focused interaction are updates by customers and social influencers. So that was interesting for me. Also, in a group, you really want to have a lot of testimonials. We're going to be redoing our group and kind of adding a couple more things to make it updated and to really give it a certain thing. If you are starting your own Facebook group, then you're going to want to revisit this area and get more detailed information. I'm going to go with it for those of us that are already in a successful Facebook group, or you're already running a successful Facebook group. But if you're just beginning one, there are definitely some things to look at. So you want to definitely have public or closed. And then when you get that choice, go closed. Let's see, when you talk about the cover image and the description, you want to keep that more or less based on the benefit of your product and service. So cover image, name, description should all be centered around the benefits of what you give, product and service. All right, the group type is social learning, and that allows you to do so many different things. And there's a lot of new things that are available right now where we can put in topics and units and different things like that. So do social learning so you can really give all of that organization tools to your guests. All right, so who should approve members? You also want to come up with your admins and moderators. You want to have a team of people. You don't want it to be just you, but have a team of people who help you. They help by posting, but they also help to control the different areas. And that's by the members coming in, member content, any facilitations that need to happen. So there's a couple things that admins want to watch out for and anyone in the group as a member. Admins should be looking at the daily posts every single day. We should be looking for new members every day, but we also want to have a set of rules as to who we allow into the groups. And our group has talked about that. In particular, we don't allow everybody in. I do have very specific questions that they need to answer. I have found the majority of them do not answer those questions. And so we are reliant on going back to their actual Facebook wall, learning a little bit more about them to see, are they the right type of person to have in this group? Because there are certain situations where you may not want them in your group. For one, if they're a bot, you need to be able to kind of figure that out. If they're in a country that you're just never going to do business with, you have to ask yourself the question, perfectly fine to have them in there, but we need to find out, why do they want to come in? Do we have a service we can offer them being in a different country? Or what is their intention of being in our group? So some of the reasons why we don't accept everyone can be location. Also, are they in another company? And which is fine if they are, but what's their intention of being in our company? And so I will ask very specific questions from them when I see that they're a part of something like what we do. And one of it is, what is your intention? What do you expect to receive? And what are you willing to give? We want people to receive as well as contribute, but of course in the correct way. So you definitely want to be a little careful about who you let into your groups, but open enough, especially in the type of business that we do, that we're not prejudging in any way, and we're allowing different types of situations and people to come in, because they could offer some really incredible things. We just have to ask the right questions. So members, or admins, excuse me, admins should always post at least once a day. All right, that's our responsibility as an admin and someone in charge. And there should be a reflection also as to how many people we have in the group, because we have a responsibility when we invite people, that we need to show up and always allow them. So there's a couple of things with that, whether you're an admin or a member. When you invite people to come into the group, a lot of times if they're not real active and they haven't made their presence really known in the group, the only way they're notified to post is if the person who invited them actually posts something. So we know that they'll receive that notification. Let's just go for an example. Annie adds, let's just say 200 people into the group, and Annie is posting, but Annie goes on vacation. Well, if I'm posting in place of Annie and I'm trying to keep the algorithms going, but I don't have a connection with Annie's invites, they're never going to see our posts and those notifications. So when we do invite people to come in the groups, it is our responsibility to keep it alive, because that's how they'll be notified. But also as a leader, when we invite people in and then all of a sudden we don't show up anymore, they start to begin to question, well, what happened to that person that invited me? I never see them. Are they even still doing it? Should I connect with somebody else? And I guarantee you, that's what they do. They do. They connect with somebody else that they have a like, no trust, and respect with. And that person is usually one who's extremely present in the group. As we've been told in the past by one of our uplines, the person who posts the most wins. And that's a great scenario of understanding who's going to win in those cases. Now, we're very protective in our group that if somebody asks questions and they're like, hey, I don't even know who enrolled me, but I want to get started. We do our research to find out who brought them in, and then we'll go a couple levels higher to find out, is that person still involved or anyone else? And as long as, a few levels higher up are highly involved and they're participating and they're coaching people, then we inform them about it. But if there's a huge line of people who are not involved anymore, it's going to go to someone new. And that's just the roll of the dice of who posts the most wins. So real important for us to really stay on top of that. All right, so the catalyst of the community is social proof. How do we get social proof? Does anyone know? You can type it in the chat or go ahead and unmute. But what do you think social proof really is?
Testimonials.
Yes, exactly. That's it. That's it. It is testimonials. So we've got to have our testimonials, whether there are our own testimonials, which people love to see that because one, then we're notifying all those people we've invited. Hey, this is what's going on with me. This is why I'm passionate. This is why I love the product, the company, the compensation, the community, whatever it may be, because this is what it has done for me. This is why I'm passionate. But it is okay to also show other people. We can show other people's situations for recognition purposes, to give them big kudos and to have them get excited that somebody else is watching them, somebody else is excited about what they have achieved. And then if we're fortunate that we have a lot of other groups that we can pull testimonials from, because there's a lot of them everywhere, and we can share that. But you do want to give credit where credit is due. So always make sure if you're grabbing it from a different page, and in our company, pretty much the general rule is if it is posted in one of these public pages, it is okay to reshare. Every once in a while, you'll see a statement, please do not reshare. So obviously we respect that. If you ever want to ask them, can I share your story? Go right ahead. You'll 90%, 99% of the time, you'll get a yes. But it's great to be able to share those testimonials with people, but also your own. Don't forget about doing your own. All right, so the most meaningful kind of social proof is the wisdom of friends. All right, so that kind of relates to what we just discussed of other people giving that recognition, giving that shout out, but also having other people react and be a part of it. So we really love having lots of interaction around testimonials because they really are our bread and butter. And they make such a huge difference, something that we need to change. And I'm beginning to ask each of you to do. I'll change our group to social learning because it's not, so I apologize for that. And then we'll come up with the different topics, and one will be testimonials, and we'll have that marked as announcement. So when we first introduce people into the group, we can direct them to all of these different testimonials. And that's the first thing they see other than their welcome, which of course the welcomes are so important. Annie had a great way of explaining a welcome. And a welcome is in another way, but same way as a group, is if you were to walk into somebody's house and they're having a party, how do you typically introduce them? Do you just let them walk in and figure it out on their own? Or do you actually introduce them, whether to a couple people or to everyone, and share a little bit about them? So it really is the same situation. It's difficult for somebody to just walk in, especially to an established group, and be like, hi, how's it going? You've got some people who absolutely can do that, but the majority of people cannot. So welcome them, share how you know them, your experience with them, and if they're willing to allow you to share, why are they there? What do they want to receive from this group? Maybe pinpoint a couple different people that they might want to watch or have a conversation with that has a common situation. So if it's a particular health issue that they're going through, or if it's weight, or whatever product and service it is, direct them to someone that they might be able to have that common bond with. And that really makes a difference. Like, again, going back to the home-based scenario, I'm just going to look at the screen and we'll just go. Sherry and Annie in particular have a lot of common ground, but they've never met each other before. And I introduced Sherry to everybody, and this is a little bit about her and what she's going through. But Annie, I also thought you two might really hit it off and relate. Then they might take it and either go private or just start watching each other. And when you have that bond with people, that's when people stay. And as we've talked about with communities in the past, the community is why a lot of people stay in their teams in network marketing. And so you want to build that bond. Like, how many of you have a bond with Dr. Rose right now? Can anyone say that you guys really feel like you know her, you like her, you trust her, and you have respect, right? Does everyone agree? Go ahead, put it in chat, raise your hand. And maybe some of the reasons why you have that trust, that like, know, trust, and respect. I'll name them off, but go ahead and put it in the chat because that's obviously really fun for her to see. But, well, yeah, she's too cute not to like. Well, yes. Without a doubt, her smile is always there. But Annie, exactly, her live videos, right? She's speaking out loud. She's sharing who she is, but also with knowledge. But even if there wasn't knowledge there, just sharing who she is and becoming. Let's go example, Craig, right? Craig comes on live quite a bit. So you receive a lot of like, know, trust, and respect from him as well. And it's just people being themselves and smiling and giving that knowledge, and they're personable. And yes, what Dr. Rose is doing is absolutely amazing. And she's sharing, she is giving something of value. So as admins, moderators, or an influencer in a community, that's one of the best gifts you can give to other people. But it will also come back to you that you might have more followers and people might reach out to you more, or that, they might share that experience of you, maybe not necessarily with you, but of you with other people. Have any of you talked about Dr. Rose's videos to other people, right? Have you talked to them about coming into the group and saying, oh my gosh, you've got to hear Dr. Rose talk, or Dr. Rose has a video on that, and Dr. Rose has allowed us to share her videos, by the way. So please feel free to save those and share them with other people. They're very specific situations. So thank you for that huge gift. We really appreciate that. But that's what keeps people here when they have those bonds with people. So any type you do an event, or if you're able to give yourself more on the videos, that's when you create the bonds. And it's amazing how many people, Annie and I just had an example of one of Annie's customers earlier today, and she posted on my wall and Annie's wall of her giving us kudos. And she made a comment, she's like, they keep supporting me even if I don't respond to them, which is then the case. But we've created that bond with her because we kept reaching out and we keep showing up and we keep giving something of value. Even if we haven't heard from her, she feels that bond with us, and we're so grateful for that. All right, any questions about the community or Facebook group before we move into conversation? Okay, so conversation, in my opinion, it's really one of the biggest areas to really get down. But as you'll learn with Jim's program, you've got to have all 4 C's. So you just like with everything we do, you learn one, you master it, you learn the next level, master it, and so on. And that's why we'll learn each of these C's at different times. So today we're going to do half of the conversation. We'll do the next half next time, and then half of connect, and keep going until we are fully through all 4 C's. So conversation is just having that conversation with people, the one-on-ones. Vicky's been a great example of reaching out into a Facebook group yesterday and sharing a little testimonial as to what has happened to her with people who are going through similar situations. She had a huge response from people who are like, oh my, please tell me more. I need to feel that way. I've been searching. I need to make changes to receive what you have. And the only way for Vicky to really implement that relationship is a one-on-one, right? She cannot just come back on the post, or even to do a general post in that group, or even to just post her video. She's got to do a one-on-one with people. And that's really truly what the magic is with conversation. So always keep in mind, whenever we post something in mass ways, okay, all right, Vicki, we'll deal with that. When you post in mass ways, your marketing, when you have conversations one-on-one, that's when you're doing income producing activities. All right, and Vicki, we can work with that. All right, so how do you do that? What's the best way to truly reach out and speak to people? Does anyone have any ideas? And maybe we can rate this. So I'll give you some suggestions and you guys tell me what number 1, number 2, number 3 might be. It could be a private message, a text message, a general post, a general message on the post, private message video, private message text, phone call. Any ideas? What would be your number 1 way to connect with someone, as long as they allow? And that's what we have to ask their permission. Can I, may I, and find out what they are okay with.
I think phone call is the best.
Number 1. Yep, very good. Number 2?
A spoken message.
Yep, video message. So preferably, hey, you're online right now. Can we do a video together and talk, video message together and actually speak? Or you can actually do a message, but a video audio message from you, if that's the next needed step, is actually better. We want them to hear your voice. We want them to see you, know that who you are, and that you come from a genuine situation before just typing it out. And as we all know, type and text messages don't always come across the same way. So as much as you can, person to person. All right, so then the next thing is, if you can and if it's appropriate, introduce them to somebody else that might have an influence with them, right? And with our groups, we're so great. It's such a family environment that even just doing it right there is a great place. But giving them that direct connection with somebody else, opening up the world for them so they can speak to multiple people. All right, so how many people should you speak to each day? All right, so let's have you guys put in the chat, how many people? Let's just say your limited time, right? Because everybody's limited in time for whatever reason. How many people do you think you should have a conversation with each day? Now, it may not be a phone call, because phone calls do take an hour, but how many initial conversations should you be doing in order to have a phone call? All right, so I've got 3 new people, 5, 3. Good. Anyone else? Okay, this is Jim's perspective, and Jim comes from a numbers. He is all about numbers, and in order to receive this number, you need to do this and this and this. So Jim recommends 10. There you go, Keisha. All right, Keisha just put in 10. 10 new conversations each day. And that could be a private message conversation, checking in with somebody, or starting a conversation, or starting a friendship, or rebuilding a friendship, but 10 each day. and even existing friends, right? Most of them are going to be existing friends, probably not a ton of new ones in this situation. That will be the next C. On a max 30. So these are direct conversations that you can have each day, right? Not a mass message that goes out to quite a few people. This is a back and forth conversation. So somewhere between 10 and 30 in order to truly build a business. However, there's rules with that, and the rules are Facebook rules, right? It's not necessarily our rules in the type of business we do, it's Facebook. Anyone have any idea as to how many people you should be reaching out to? Well, we said between 10 and 30, but how should you break that down? Should you do 30 all at once, or should you break it down? Any ideas? 3 times a day. That's exactly it. So if you're doing 30, break it in the morning, the afternoon, and evening, or if you're doing 10 and you want to do 3, 3, 3, or something along that line. The reasons for that are, one, because you only have so much time to really truly dedicate to a conversation. So if you're really having a conversation with people, if you're having a ton of them, you're not going to be able to give that person what they deserve. So break it down to morning, afternoon, and evening, whatever on time base that you can do, so that you can truly give to people. All right, so here's expectations. All right, so let's just say you have a certain number of friends. In this case, Jim used the figure 1,000. And he said the average person has between 500 and 600 friends. 80% of them are going to be an okay friendship that you're probably going to need to rebuild. And 20% of them are deep friendships that you can just go right in and start having a conversation with them and introduce them to the business, whether it's a product, service, community, but you can go right in and say something like, I have something I would like to show you, right? That's only about 20% in the majority of our situations. So for 80% of the people we're going to be working with, we're rebuilding a relationship with them. And another rule of thumb is go back and look at your messages with them, or of course, your text messages and your phone calls, and find out when was the last time you actually had a conversation with them. Jim, of course, loves to use Facebook private message because it's a history. And it really shows everything. So if you're going back and forth between phone calls, texts, and private message, you're not going to have a full history. If you just use one area, you do stay much more organized. And when you go back and you look at these conversations, you can look at the dates. When did we truly have the last conversation? Not you sending them a message, but when did you truly have a ping pong going back and forth? If it was more than 90 days, sorry, I'm timing myself so that I can get you guys some good stuff. If it was more than 90 days, then you have to rebuild the relationship. If it was less than 90 days and it's a good relationship that's been going back and forth, not just a birthday, but you've actually gone back and forth with each other, then you can go right in. Otherwise, you rebuild. So let's talk about that a little bit. So we, of course, have been, doing different things and connecting with people and doing some large marketing materials and different things like that. And of course, we have situations where people do not respond to us, right? It happens. We get ghosted. They don't respond. There's just no response. So Jim's going to break that down as to why. Why does that happen? One, they didn't see it. They didn't see your message come through. Maybe they're not on Messenger, maybe they're not on Facebook anymore, but somehow they didn't see your message. And we can tell that. Usually we can tell if they saw our message or not, right? The second way is they don't really have a deep relationship with us. It's not as deep as we thought it was. So we need to really look at that and to make our relationship with them deeper in order for them to respond. And then the third thing is they haven't had a life experience yet, or at this moment, that they would have an interest in what we offer. And so if we don't have all three of those things happening, that's usually why we're not getting a response. So best case scenario, the magic, right, the unicorn, everything that happens is when all three of those things are aligned. They saw it, they feel connected to us, and they're going through something right now that they feel a need to have your product or your service. So that obviously is ideal. So how can we do that, right? One, there's a couple things we can do. We have to, just kind of get to a point where people know, like, trust, and respect us. So we've got to make sure that people know us. And how can they know us? One, maybe they go back to our wall and they look at our wall to get to know us a little bit more. How many of you guys have ever gone to somebody's wall, whether you kind of know them, you think you know them, or you need to learn a little bit more about them, and you look at their picture, their cover picture, their bio, and a few of their posts, right? Is that an easy way to get to know someone? So we need to make sure all of our stuff is on game. Our cover picture should have something that represents something meaningful to us. Our profile picture should stand out. First of all, it should be you, right? We don't want dogs and cats or a picture of the entire family, because let's just say your name is Chris and you've got an entire family. How are they going to know which one is Chris? Are you male? Are you female? I mean, I don't know. I've got a couple people that I respond with, and pretty regularly, I really don't know if I'm speaking to the wife or the husband. I honestly do not, because it's so-and-so and so-and-so. And there's no way with their picture, it's them together. I really have no idea. And I'm past the point where I can ask. So we've got to make sure we do the right things to show people, who are we? What do we represent? Who are we? So make sure your picture stands out. And Jim also doesn't suggest that you change your profile picture very often. And the reason for that, let's see, let's get on Facebook. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this because we have talked about it a lot in the past, but let me share my screen. Let's just go through a couple. Can you guys see my Facebook screen? Okay. Thumbs up. Excellent. Thank you so much. So what do a lot of people do somewhere throughout the day? They just quickly get on their phone and they start scrolling, right? And for some people, it's about this speed, right? So they're not really checking it out. But what happens is our brain automatically goes to this picture, then it goes to the name. And if our brain recognizes it, first of all, can see it, because there's going to be some that you can't really see, and we'll have to talk to a few of our team members. I can't see who you are. Like here's one right there. I can't see anything, right? She's too far away. So my brain's not going to recognize it. There's Annie, right? Annie's been keeping her profile forever. There's Romy. Romy keeps the same profile, easy to recognize her. It's a very distinct outfit. And a lot of her pictures actually resemble, look, it's the same outfit. So they resemble, she's got a brand happening with that. There's Sherry, really easy to see Sherry, really easy. So when your brain sees something that it recognizes, like, there's a lot of these, my brain is not going to stop to see, like, here we go. Who's that? It's not even a person. And when your brain doesn't recognize it, it won't stop. And so you want to make sure that your profile picture is on target for that. The cover picture should be meaningful. In this case, I just did like squash and fall vegetables, because one, we're doing our challenge right now, but two, it's that time of the year. And I love this time of the year because it is the grateful time of the year and Thanksgiving to give that. Also, we need to have a great intro. Who are we? Because they will read this really fast and they will make a decision on if this is someone that they want to like or not based on that. And some people may not like my intro, but that's okay if they don't like my intro, because if they don't like my intro, they're not going to like me. We're not going to gel together anyways. So it's not a popularity contest. It's who is really truly going to like, know, trust, and respect me. And if they're not going to, I'm not going to be able to change them to like me. I might be able to help people get to know me better and change their mind, but I also don't want to work super hard on having someone like, know, trust, and respect me if that's not where their interest level lies. So that's okay. I'm all right with that. But people need to know who you are. So fill out your information. Now, Facebook has changed. So we have very little information happening right here under the bio, but they can go into your bio to see a little bit, see a little bit more about you. They can just, that's of course ours. If you were on somebody else's, you could click on that, learn a little bit more about them. And then, of course, a lot of people look at the featured product or featured pictures. That is how they learn a lot about us. So make sure your picture reflects who you are. What do you offer? And that doesn't necessarily mean business-wise what you offer, but who are you? What do you offer as a human being? And so you want to share some of that. They're also going to look at your mutual friends, most likely. And then from there, they're probably going to start looking at your pictures and your posts. That's why you do want to have things that stand out, like your colored background or pictures, not just text. Like I just bypassed my first one because it was just text. You want to include different things in here. You also want to make sure that you have things about you. So Jim doesn't go into this just yet, but at some point we will talk about the 80%, 20%, 80% personal, 20% business. You guys have all seen the Facebook group or pages where they're just all business and they're just showing product, product, product. And you're like, what do you offer? All right, you're not offering anything. So make sure people know you and they like you. All right, I want to play some of Jim's conversations. So yes, I know. Thank you so much, Alexa. We're going to go into just a couple of these. One, so you can hear Jim talk about it. Oops, hold on, guys. There we go. But really, it's interesting to hear Jim's voice on how all of this. So let's see if I can get to a good place.
So about these 1,000 Facebook friends, you've already learned that 800 of them are rebuilt. We already
Let's
learned
actually
that
go, we're going to go to video
20% or about
19.
40 are like a Mark Johnson. The second type of person is somebody that does respond back, but they say no. They
Can you guys
say
hear this
not
okay?
interested. They say, oh, Jim, thanks for that, but I'm really not interested. They say something that ends up being a no. Now, if you have superior communication skills,
What's that?
you
Is
may
it supposed
have
to be a
some
video?
Not, you're not really going to see a whole lot, but you should be able to see it.
I only see sound output and input.
It's why you only have certain people that are really great at sales, because it takes a true art to be able to talk to people.
Can you see it now?
So most people
Okay.
are at the very beginning of their careers and they have yet to develop those deep communication skills. So what is the most authentic, transparent, and real way that you can respond to somebody? Well, if these people are your real friends, you're not going to try to change their mind. You're just going to accept them for where they are and you're going to move on. Now, the reason why you can easily move on is because you're talking to a lot of people. Even if you're reaching out to 10 new conversations a day, that keeps you busy. After 1 month, that's 300 people. So if someone says they're not interested, but 9 other people say, yes, I want to check it out, will you be concerned about that one person that said no? Of course not. Would you want to try to change their mind? Of course not, because you're too busy talking to the people that are saying, yes, I like to check it out. So when we deal with numbers, we don't have to worry about trying to convince people. We don't have to worry about trying to get them to change their mind. We can just keep moving along. Now, many of these people that say no will come back later on, could be in a few days, could be in a few weeks, could be in a few months, could be in a few years, they'll eventually come around and do business with you as long as you do the communication step correctly in our social media system, which is the last C that you're going to learn in the mechanics. So when somebody responds back and says, nope, not interested, you can see on my screen right now, no problem, appreciate the response. I'll see you around Facebook. What's more important to me is my friendship with you. That shows people that the relationship is number one, business is second. Number one is relationship, number two is business. Now you might be thinking, no, Jim, I want to focus on business. I want to make that dollar bill. But here's how I want you to think about it. Think about the wealthiest people out there. And then think about the people that are always thinking about money. You know, one of the differences between someone that makes between $100,000 a year, $1 million a year, and as high as $5 to $9 to $10 million a year, the people that can never get over that hump are people that are strictly about the money, strictly about the sell, strictly about doing the business. The people that make 50 million, 100 million, the billionaires of our world, they want to change the world. They want to make it a better place. So think about that for a moment. Now, I live my life on core values, so I rarely talk about money, but this is a good example. Now think about here. If you want to build a big business, think about the friendship first. Why? Because that's the core of what drives business. Therefore, what does happen? You ultimately drive bigger business than people that focus on driving business. And when you compare that to the example I just gave you with wealth, it makes sense. So in this paragraph, use your own words. But the most important piece I want you to emphasize is that the friendship with them is the most important. That way, when they have a life experience down the road and they're ready to look at a product like yours or make money in a business like yours, they're going to want to do business with you because of how you treated them the entire journey. Okay, let's go check out.
All right, so he's going to keep going through a couple things. So that's a really, really important topic. We have just a couple of minutes left. We're going to be doing a happy hour in just a couple of minutes. Any thoughts or comments about what Jim talked about there of going in strong with the intention of, I'm going to do business with them versus trying to make a relationship and build a friendship first. And then no matter how they respond, friendship is the most important. And these may or may not be people you truly are friends with, because you make friends with people on Facebook, but at some point throughout the years, they very well could say, that's what I'm looking for. I remember having a conversation with that person, and that's who I want to do business with. And I think a lot of you have already had that example. Does anyone want to chat about that just real fast? Because it is it's a good topic. Okay, so before we end, next week, what we will go through, let's see, it's a formula of how to set up your messages so that you have the exact message to speak about. Now, if anyone wants to go ahead and go faster, then either be a part of this group or just connect with me, right? And we'll just make sure that you have that formula. If anyone wants to go fast and fly through it, I'm never going to say, wait a minute, that's next week. We'll talk about that next week. We won't do that. We'll do that right away. But one of the formulas, if you don't want to just write this down, is as you're connecting with people and having that conversation with them, or if you're doing a message, a general message, you want to have a formula of a product fact, a testimonial, and a call to action. And we'll have very specific examples for you so that you feel very comfortable doing that. But as you're doing your messages with people, just double check. And do you have a product fact, a testimonial, and a call to action to them? Now, someone doing a social influencing, you can bring that into play too. You're still going to do the testimonial, the fact, but then it might be more of a social influencer call to action. So you're adding a little bit more of a social influence to that so that you can bring that up if you're not just working on product, but you're speaking to someone already in the business. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna stop recording, ask any questions that you guys have, and then people are gonna start to come in for our happy hour. So just to close this out, thank you guys all so much for coming. This was week 1. We've got 3 more weeks left, but we'll spend as much time on this as you guys want. But it's mapped out to be another 3 more weeks of really learning the intensity of how to correctly connect with people and really building it. Then after level 1, we can certainly go to level 2, which is bringing in a lot more of the intensity of taking it to the next level. So thank you guys all so much for joining, and we'll come back next week.